My life experience have really molded me, but let me answer you and give you more context in terms of that question, in terms of where I was born. So I'm Namibian by blood and South African by birth. And I think those same strands of inclusivity that flow through me has really aligned with my purpose today in terms of what I want to do, how I want to lead. Growing up, with two parents who really understood the assignment in terms of being parents, they just really understood that you have to allow your child to be who they were. So my parents embrace my difference and my authenticity, and I think that has set the path in terms of how I lead today by inviting people to my table who don't look like me, who don't come from where I come from, or who don't call God the same name I call God. I think diversity is very important, and because my parents have created a safe space for me to be who I was, meant to be, I now do the exact same thing for people who are blessed enough to cross my path. Because I think creating safe spaces for people who feel different or who feel like the outcast is very important, because we all, deserve a seat around someone's table, and that's what I'm trying to do right now as a leader. The entire world really is bleeding when it comes to mental health awareness, because first and foremost, if you look at the high suicide rates, it's devastating. And I think I have always had a sense of responsibility and accountability, because instead of pointing fingers to what other people are doing, the question I always ask myself is, AB, what are you willing to do? So whether that is speaking up a little bit more, attending panel discussions around mental health, I always ask myself, what is it that I can do? So I think that's very important, because we have a lot of lip service in and around our society, and I do believe we need more elbow grease, but we can't be looking at what other people are doing or not doing. It really starts with you, but I do think we are in bad shape. However, there are certain organizations and individuals who are doing their best in order to raise awareness around this issue, because I think mental health awareness is just a timely reminder to remind people of the essential part of their mental wellness, and also those suffering from this invisible illness, to echo out that they are deserving of healing and care, and that there is a pathway to hope. I've chosen to work with young people because young people are often left out of the mental health conversation. And what we now know is that 50% of all mental illnesses develop before someone is 14 years old. But we also know that people only get help 8 to 10 years after diagnosis. So what we're seeing in and around our society is a lot of adults who have had mental illnesses since they were children. And I'll always emphasize this point: what we don't repair, we repeat. Some of the major issues that young people face is suicide, anxiety disorders, bipolar, and there's a cocktail of issues that I can list. However, I do want to emphasize that with all of these issues surfacing to the top, there is help out there, there is proper care and treatment out there. But first and foremost, if we look at suicide rates, amongst our students, especially college students, moving away from home for the first time, stepping into the adult world and trying to be an adult with limited resources can be a debilitating effect, or can have a debilitating effect on young people. And let's not forget about social media, and I don't want to blame the tool, because it's purely just a tool. But if you have a young person behind that tool with a mental capacity at 50, it will be debilitated. So those are some of the signs and that I think, or issues that young people face. I think the negative connotation comes from a lack of mental health literacy. When we speak about mental health, we speak about mental wellness. We all have mental health, just like we all have physical health. Now, when we speak about a mental illness, now that's a disorder. And what is a disorder? A disorder is something that causes significant distress in someone's life. However, especially amongst men, there's a huge stigmatization and connotation around mental health, because as men, we are preserving this place of strength, but in return just damaging ourselves. But this is what I know. If I told you today that you needed a pill in order to breathe well, you take it. If I told you you needed a pill for your knee, you take it. But the moment I say you need a pill to help regulate your mental health functioning, we think that that's an issue. And a lot of people make mental health illness a faith issue, and that's where we make the problem. But just like you need a doctor, a mechanic, a teacher, we also play an inseparable part as therapists, because at the end of the day, there is no substitute when it comes to a therapist. There is no substitute when it comes to a mental health expert. So there's a place and a space for it. You can have Jesus and a therapist. You can have faith and a therapist. And I also do believe that if we can only and also make space for a therapist, hopefully we can make this world a better place. The first step I would say, is don't just pick up the phone and make the first clinician your therapist. Interview us. We all do consultations for about 10 to 15 minutes. I would also say, ask yourself, what is it that I need a therapist for? Is it healing issues or growth issues, relationship issues? Is it I don't know what my issue is, I just need to sit down with someone and detox? Well, we have specialties for all of that. We are here to save you. We are here to help you. But it really starts with that investigative research from your side. Changes in behavior. I always say that, I emphasize that, let me say you have a child or a friend or a partner who used to be very outgoing, but now all of a sudden have become quite secluded and isolated, or maybe someone who used to be the life of the party and now became quite depressed. That's the first one. The second one is what we call somatic complaints, especially with our youngsters who don't have the emotional literacy to say, I'm really depressed, but they can say, I have a headache or a stomach ache. Also with us as adults, sleeping patterns, changes in our sleeping patterns. We can't sleep because we're overwhelmed. We can't sleep because we're anxious. Also, activities that we used to love getting involved in that we don't enjoy anymore. Those are all danger signs. And this is what I want to emphasize. Everything is mental health and wellness, from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep, and everything in between. Absolutely, because substance abuse usually is self-medication. When I'm anxious, I might not want to go to the doctor, but I believe smoking a little weed or having a glass of wine might calm me down. And a lot of people might say, AB, it's just a crutch to help me get there. But oftentimes it's not a crutch. Oftentimes it's actually us knowing that something is wrong, and so we self-medicate. We find something in order to help us cope, in order to help us really get over to the other side. And I just want to emphasize this. If you are using a substance that's making you feel a type of way, there might be an underlying cause or issue that you might just want to get checked out. It's sad to say the very least. I always encounter or speak to people who say that there are demons in the entertainment industry, and I don't think there are any demons, but there are surely an incentive to lose yourself in the moment, lose yourself in the external validation, because I think everyone right now is seeking for fame. And fame, in my opinion, is worse than a chemical substance like crack or heroin, because people will do anything for fame and the trappings that go along with it. However, as producers, I do believe that we play a part in this, because we need to have strong yeses and strong nos and clear boundaries. Because if someone comes into this industry with the drug problem, the love for addiction will be enhanced on a bigger scale. So it's very important that we have those boundaries in place. And also, like we make room for a paramedic or a production nurse, it's very important that we also make room for a psychologist or a therapist or any kind of mental health expert, because I do know that a therapist and a psychologist is usually seen as a luxury on certain productions. But it's very important that we include that and embed that, just like we embed paramedics and production nurses and speak about everyday safety. We need to include a mental health expert in that conversation as well. But I also believe that, looking at celebrities, people are so oblivious to the slightest possibilities that a celebrity might suffer from a psychological issue, because they are masked in perfectionism and overachievement. But it's very important to understand that that's a human being behind all of that, and we all have pain. Some of our pain, are just covered in prettier book covers.